Hey there. Welcome to the Pine Island Experience podcast. I'm Joanna Anderson with my husband, Trygve. Each of our episodes will be conversations with fellow Pine Islanders.
The goal of our podcast is to share with you our experiences, what we have found to be fun, and what makes the Pine Island experience so unique.
We're always teaching one another. I have 12 electricians right now, and we often talk about each other's jobs. There is no amount of combinations of different issues. Rather, a homeowner's gotten involved in someone's electric, or just variety of different applications that we're doing electrical work on. We always rely on one another for knowledge. There's always opportunities to teach and learn multiple times throughout the week. It's never ending in our trade. And I do employ 2 apprentices right now. And I'm paying back what was given to me in that respect. And we keep our apprentices with the journeymen until they're 100% competent to do that on their own and can be trusted.
You heard Korrie O'Donnell, master electrician and owner of Sound Electric, describing how they are always teaching one another. Korrie said there's constantly challenges, and that's what she absolutely loves about the trade. She strives to be the best leader she can be because she feels her most important asset are her employees. She's committed to her customers, stating, all you have to do is be upfront, be prompt, show up on time, and take care of the customer no matter when a problem arises. And now, here's Korrie. So we have Korrie O'Donnell here with us today. Thank you very much for coming from the owner, so impressive, of Sound Electric LLC over here in St. James City. So we're excited to have you here, and I know how busy you are, so thank you for coming and talking to us today.
It's my pleasure. I'm so happy to have the opportunity. So thanks for providing that.
Well, we're going to start where we always start, very beginning, where you grew up, where you're from, where you went to school, where other jobs you could have had before becoming an electrician, and then we'll get into Pine Island.
Okay, well, that's fun. I'm originally from Moundsville, West Virginia. It's 20 miles south of Wheeling, West Virginia. So Wheeling, West Virginia would be a big town in West Virginia. I would think the population, I'm not really sure what the Wheeling population is, but probably not more than 60,000. So it's not a very large town. I went to school at John Marshall High School and did some college, but I was so excited to get out into the world and become an adult that money right now was the way I was going. So I was hitting jobs that I could make a lot of money at a very young age. I bought my first house at 18.
Wow.
So there were bills to pay, and college wasn't getting the bills paid at the time, although I did take some classes. And really what got me into the electrical trade was this house that I bought at such a young age. It was a dilapidated home, and at some point the insurance company called me and said, hey, you have knob and tube wiring in this house, and if you don't get this remediated, we're going to cancel you. And that was complete devastation for somebody at my age because I couldn't even afford cable or barely really to make ends meet at all. And so I had to reach out for some help. And I had a young guy the same age as me who was an electrical apprentice at the time. And his father was in the electrical union. And he helped me rewire my house.
Wow.
And he planted the seed in my head that I could do this trade, the electrical trade. So I put my application in, and it took a good long time before they called me up. And I was under the impression that my job would simply be to wind up some extension cords and hand out tools. So I had a long way to go, a lot of learning to do, but I had joined the apprenticeship, which is a 5-year program, and it's basically on-the-site learning and schooling as well. So I went to school about 12 hours a week, and for 5 years and learned the trade and learned on the job experience.
That's a long apprenticeship. Did you know it was going to be that long when you got into it?
When they interview, they let you know that,
Okay.
but I really wasn't expecting that it would be 5 years, but I knew that it was a really good opportunity.
Mhm.
I really did, and I was so thankful for the opportunity. I really I couldn't see affording the college at that time for the reasons I was just so desperate to get out there and get started in the world. And I don't think that might be the best way for a young person to start, but for me, that worked out really good because the trades are a great way to make a living. And I think that it's a good opportunity, and this is something I do now, is to reach out to the youth and let them know that that's a possibility because the sky's really the limit. It's a great wage, even just a journeyman electrician is a great living wage.
Did you like it right away when you first started? Do you remember back when it must have been kind of scary to go to school, or wasn't it?
It was very difficult in the beginning because it can be hard in a lot of different ways out there in the field. One thing you have to do is develop thick skin.
Mm-hmm.
You have to hear what you're doing wrong and make corrections to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult in the beginning. Your journeymen aren't very easy on you.
Mm-mm.
And at some point in your life, you become thankful that they weren't. But while it's going on, it's a difficult time to get through. So, yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
So many professions seem to have niche terms, abbreviations that, in your parlance, journeymen know like by heart. They've been using them for years. You come in as this apprentice and they're throwing something out. And I don't know enough about electricity to throw one at you, but, and then I got to imagine as an apprentice, you're like, what the heck did they ask me for? And then you're not getting it for them. And then they're upset with you because, like, how do you not know that? Now, to your point, you start to learn and you get into the kind of the lingo. There's kind of almost like a language that has to be learned, for lack of a better term.
100%. There's so little that I knew. I didn't know the difference between a 1/2-inch bolt and a 1/4 inch or a 3/8. So these are things that I learned over time, but the journeymen do have a lot of fun with your ignorance as well. And they really had a ball with me because I was super ignorant at that time. So they like to send their apprentices on special missions. So let's put it that way.
Snipe hunts per chance.
Yeah.
Did you have any mentors?
Well, every journeyman was really a mentor at that period of time. And I've been very fortunate as I've grown in business to have some really great mentors. So I'd love at some point to talk about that as well.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I also think it's interesting so you went through the apprenticeship and, you've come to appreciate what they put you through and learn all that stuff. But the trades in particular are one that seem to be built on those that already are in the trade. By default, you then become a teacher because you invariably will get involved with other apprentices, or you may choose to get. So not only are you learning a trade, but maybe learning some teaching skills, because at some point in time, you may, in fact, have apprentices of your own as you try to bring them into the trade and get them to understand things. So, have you had those experiences? Do you have your own apprentices or had experience with that?
100%. We all become teachers, and sometimes the young people are teaching the old. We're always teaching one another. I have 12 electricians right now, and we often talk about each other's jobs.
Mm-hmm.
There is no amount of combinations of different issues. Rather, a homeowner's gotten involved in someone's electric, or just variety of different applications that we're doing electrical work on. We always rely on one another for knowledge. There's always opportunities to teach and learn multiple times throughout the week. It's never ending in our trade. And I do employ 2 apprentices right now. So, and I'm paying back what was given to me in that respect. And we keep our apprentices with the journeymen until they're 100% competent to do that on their own and can be trusted.
What's the testing process or the certification process once an apprenticeship is over? Like, how do you cross that bridge into being, I assume that means you can work on your own at that point
You
in time?
can. Once you're a journeyman, what it takes to get there. Again, officially, the hours may be a little bit different. To become a journeyman, you have to have a certain amount of hours. I don't remember what that threshold is,
Okay.
but it's certainly at least 4 years at 40 hours a week. We have a 5-year apprenticeship, but it's certainly at least that amount of time. And you have to have a proficiency test, which is difficult. The journeyman test, you have to know what you're doing to pass it. Not everyone passes it on the first try.
And I think you have to keep taking tests, don't you? Is there some requirement that you have to renew your license?
For a master electrician, which is the license that I hold, every 2 years you have to have a continuing education.
So it never goes away.
It never goes away. And the continuing education is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great opportunity to network with other electricians and learn new codes and things that are going to be coming out, and learn a little more about the trade.
Mm-hmm. Well, how did you find Pine Island? How did you discover it?
My in-laws discovered Pine Island. So my in-laws, they live on Tropical Point, and they have been snowbirding here. Well, now they've been snowbirding about 15 years, and they really said there isn't a whole lot for someone my husband and I's age to do down here. Don't really worry about coming down. It's not really for our age group necessarily. I don't think that they want us disturbing the retirement, truth be told. My in-laws are great, by the way. But we fell in love with it instantly. My husband and I are obsessed with boating. We have been for a long time. We lived on our boat in West Virginia.
Oh, really?
Actually, which is not very typical for West Virginia as it is here in Florida. We had a Plucky Bomb custom boat, and it was beautiful, a 70-foot boat. We lived on there. And we love to travel the river and the waterways, and we've done a good part of the Great Loop.
Mm-hmm.
And we've read a lot about Cape Coral and all the canals, and we see that as our dream city. One thing that we really didn't relate to all these years that the in-laws have been coming down here and snowbirding is that Pine Island was so close to Cape Coral that we had been reading about. So when we arrived, we said, this is exactly what we love, and we really don't want to leave Pine Island. So that was the start of where the seeds were planted. We did buy an investment property that we rented out down here.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually we bought a Hatteras yacht and we stayed behind our rental property. Then eventually every time I told someone that I was an electrician, I get the response, oh, I wish we had an electrician here, or we could use an electrician. Or there was definitely the need for an electrical contractor. And we have a lot of great ones, but there's never enough. So it was clear. I can start this business and have enough work for myself and an apprentice and keep busy and be happy.
Wow, that's an incredible story.
Yeah.
So that was the motivation to start Sound Electric. Where'd you come up with the name?
Okay, so how I came up with the name of Sound Electric? Well, Hurricane Electric, it wasn't available.
That would have been a good one.
Not. And honestly, in hindsight, in some ways, I'm very glad I didn't choose that name. For sure. And there were several others, but we had a hard time actually choosing a name. But why we are here is because we love boating and we love spending our time on the sound, and it related in a few different ways. We're going to target work on the islands, here, Pine Island, Captiva, we're going to work on Pine Island Sound, all of these places. What we're doing, we want to provide sound electrical work, it's something that you can hang your hat on. And that's how we came up with the name.
When I first saw it, I was thinking music for some reason.
In hindsight, we do get a lot of that.
Yeah. I can see on this island, I can see that being a requirement.
No kidding. Yeah.
So, and is Sound Electric the first time you've been the owner, sole proprietor kind of business, or have you owned other businesses before you decided to open up an electrical business?
I have owned other businesses. How I started into business is basically I have a passive business. My husband was into real estate and rental properties. He had 2 when we started dating. And then when we got married, I turned my home into a rental property. We moved in together. So we started out with 3, and that he was a plumber by trade. I'm an electrician by trade.
How perfect.
We would buy houses that had terrible electric and terrible plumbing, and were able to get a really great deal on them for that reason. We would remediate the houses, rent them out, take all the money we made to buy another one. Before you knew it, we had 20 investment properties in West Virginia. Rental is said to be a passive business, but we did rent these out weekly. So we had a full-blown business going on all the while I was working my regular 40-hour-a-week job. It's not our first time in business. That would be a passive business that we did. I also owned a CBD store in West Virginia. So I had a little retail store, and that was something that I was passionate about. I like nutrition, natural substances, and things like that. But at the same time, I started this business here in Florida, running a CBD store in West Virginia, trying to focus on my electrical business here. I made the choice to really, feed the electrical business and shut the CBD store down in West Virginia. The electrical business is way less passive than either of those businesses. So I have so many customers, and I have so many employees right now, more than I had expected. I'm not a leader by nature. I'm a worker by nature. And this is a startup business, and I have had to learn an awful lot about leadership and putting out the best product possible. So, and luckily, the citizens of St. James City, which is my main, where I'm mainly doing business, Pine Island, Bokeelia, Cape Coral, they have helped me through all of these growing pains. So as long as their electrical works great, I think that, that's where I excel, and they're very happy and they keep me busy. So
Most people, I think, just think about getting the job done or growing the company, and there are gotchas, if you will, that come along with it. They don't have to be bad, but certainly, to your point, the learning curves and things that have to be adjusted to, particularly if you come from, as you say, passive businesses, where things kind of somewhat take care of themselves, into something where, growing a startup in a brand new location, et cetera, that had to be certainly challenges and ongoing, it sounds like.
There have been challenges. Luckily, one of the challenges that I faced has not been lack of work. So we've been very well received and supported by our community. And a lot of times that's the biggest problem that someone's facing in starting a new company. So luckily, that's a problem that we don't have. Another problem that I don't face, which I consider myself very lucky, is that all of my electricians absolutely love working on the island. A big part of that is the customers. They're all so great to work for. So that's another thing that I'm fortunate, another problem. So I have to consider myself lucky altogether. But my biggest challenge, again, is really having the leadership skills, and I've had a lot of help in that respect too. I have a mentor. I reached out to SCORE. I don't know if you guys are familiar with SCORE, or if any of the listeners, if they haven't heard of SCORE and are considering a business, that's a great resource to start with to help you navigate the startup process, because it can be very overwhelming. And we've been so overwhelmed that it's hard to find the time to focus on these sort of things, right? So that was the New Year's resolution, is to say, okay, all the customers were a couple years away from the hurricane now. It's time for me to start working on my house, which also got impacted by the hurricane. My house looks like the hurricane just happened a couple of months ago, actually. So we started focusing on taking care of that and tightening up all the processes, here, making sure that customers are, gotten back to in a timely manner, or whatever it takes to make sure that the business is doing the best it can possibly do.
Well, your leadership skills are evident just from what I read, how you're always thanking your team. I mean, that's a true leader, and you talk about them and what they're doing, and then when they're busy, you go in and work on it, and you send them to go get a part. I mean, you can tell that you're a leader.
I care so much. I can be my biggest, I can get on myself way harder than anyone else can, but I care so much. I care so much about my employees, Pine Island, and just putting out the best product ever out there. So just accountability is everything.
Yep.
So in terms of that, maybe talk about some of the services that Sound Electric does. I think a lot of times too, we as homeowners, you just walk in and you turn a switch on and you don't think about all that goes into it and the different kinds of things that, you forget your lift needs power or whatever the case might be. So what all do you work on?
Anything that's electrical, we work on. Okay, we're capable of doing residential, commercial, and industrial projects. I have a lot of experience with commercial and industrial projects, but I think most of the people that are listening to this would be in the residential field, and we do target that. Our main target will be boat lifts. Because like I said, we're here because we're obsessed with boating and we love to be on the water and anything that has anything to do with boating. So anyone that's building a dock, they're going to need electric taken to their dock. We do all Williamson Brothers docks. So they're the largest builder in Southwest Florida right now. So that keeps us very busy. Main panel change outs, we've done a tremendous amount of those. A lot of the panels, if they weren't flooded just from the salt water and everything blowing through the air, they've seen some corrosion. So we're doing a ton of that. Interior panels, of course. And anyone that's selling or buying, you might have a few problems with your interior panel, rather there's a double tap breaker or things of that nature. So we have a really good relationship with our realtors when they come up against a problem that comes across on the inspection report. We just have them send that inspection report to us. So we go through the checklist and get that taken care of. That's something that we do a ton of. Southwest Florida, if you don't have a surge protector, you better get one because we have a ton of lightning here. And if anywhere the surge protector is needed, it's here. And as a matter of fact, it is a part of the new code that anyone that gets a new panel must have a surge protector. So we're installing a ton of those.
Is that like whole house? Is that the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll take care of a whole house. We put it as long as it's in the main panel, the first panel outside of the meter, take care of your whole house. And if you have sensitive equipment, it's really important. And everyone has sensitive equipment. I mean, everybody. So they're very handy here in Florida. Geez, we've done a ton of just total rehouse wiring because it's been necessary with a hurricane. So anything and everything you could possibly think of in your house. Bidets, we do a ton of bidets, believe it or not, because everyone's adding a bidet and they take a dedicated circuit. So we do a lot of bidets. Anything electrical. You want a pool heater? Tired of freezing in the winter? We can get the electric to your pool heater. Lots of pool timers. Pool timers go out all the time. We get calls for that. So,
are there older homes here? Because I know some of the shows, with the flippers and stuff, there's like the 100 to 200 amp upgrades. So, are there older homes here where you've had to do that, or is that more limited to?
I would think that would be more limited to where my hometown is in West Virginia, but we do run across that, where we have to upgrade the panel. And there's a lot of energy consumption in Florida. So a lot of times, will you be upgrading to 200 amps? No, not necessarily. You're probably already there, but you may need a larger panel because... And it will distribute out fine. We can do load calculations to make sure that you're within 200 amps. There's a lot of different demands in Florida. You do have your pool heater. You have your pool pump. You have, your boat lift. And you have all of these extra pieces of equipment that requires electric that someone in a different region really doesn't have. So we have a lot of that here in Florida. And a lot of times we need to make the panel larger just so you can fit all your things in it.
Yeah, so interesting when you talk about the surge. I think back in the day, you thought of that as a specialty thing or only certain situations. But virtually all our TVs today have some kind of computer chips in them, or they wouldn't be smart TVs. I know they're designed to die, or at least that's always been my working assumption, but still, nonetheless, to your point, even something as simple or innocuous as, you don't really have specialized equipment, but just our everyday stuff now is subject to those surges and brownouts.
That's right. They have small semiconductors designed to burn up.
Any crazy situations that come to mind that you've walked into? Like you were told the job was X and you get in and it's Y, or like you have to get to the panel and you can't get to it.
Oh, that's a typical thing. There's 20 of those a week. Yeah, that's very typical. But we're designed to be able to work around it. A lot of times we've run into some really messy electrical situations. And that was the silver lining that came along with the hurricane, with everyone's ceilings, walls, and whatnot opened up. Some serious electrical possible mishaps have been avoided because of this hurricane. Very dangerous situations that were just buried in accident waiting to happen.
Oh.
And these things happen for multiple reasons. Sometimes you can make electrical work and it's not right.
Mhm.
Okay, there's just a potential there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see the light bulb go on, you think job well done, but there could be, and there's a lot of homeowners in there or wannabe electricians really doing the work.
You probably don't have the time to do it with us busy are, but and I'm not even sure it's on anymore, but Mike Holmes, the guy out of Canada, when they would be redoing a home, he'd bring in an electrician, and I know it was for TV and dramatized and stuff like that, but hidden junction boxes. And they never found one. Invariably, it was 3 to 4 to 5, or open circuits with that weren't capped off properly and so forth like that. And to your point, at least for me, you turn on a switch and to your point, job well done. It's working, but hidden behind the walls is God only knows what could happen. And every now and then you do get like, why you hire somebody, right? Because it seems simple, but it fires, burning down homes, et cetera. There's a lot there.
Yeah, there is a lot of potential, and sometimes that potential really, it could just be bodily harm to someone. Something being backfed on a circuit, or a lot of people like to use one neutral for two circuits, and then they have one circuit off and they think that it's dead.
Right.
But here there's current being backfed on the neutral, which can be very dangerous if someone gets in the path of that return feed. So all of these things can happen. Luckily, with the hurricane, a lot of those issues were exposed for our customers, and we were able to remediate them while we were there. So they get a little something positive out of a negative.
And I know GFCI has been around for years, but and again, you can tell I watch home improvement shows.
Yeah, I see this.
They're starting to talk a lot about arc fault now. Now, is that maybe what is that, and are you guys involved in that, or is it code here?
It's a part of the 2020 code. I actually believe it was implemented in 2017, arc fault. If you change your panel out, it's not required to put arc fault breakers in at this time.
Okay.
It's for new builds.
New, okay.
It's for new builds. So if you're remediating an existing build, you do not need to put those arc fault breakers in currently. But so any new build, you need to have them. And they are a great feature. If there's a little bit of a small flash, a micro flash, it's going to trip that breaker. So
okay, that's what it does. And then GFCI is that, and then how does it differ from GFCI? How are the two differ in terms of their protection?
GFCI is for your ground.
Okay.
Where arc is actually
Literally
if there's
ground fault. If there's a fault
there's
in
a
the
ground fault.
Okay.
Then it'll trip the breaker. And arc is if there's actually an arc, a little flash of light. Just so if you plug your vacuum in, just for an example, and the engine's running, the motor's running in your vacuum, and you see the little flash of light, that would trip an arc fault breaker. If you had an arc fault breaker and that little bit of flash, it would actually trip that. So
And I don't want to forget, let's go back to mentors, because I know we both had mentors along our career, and you said how important it was to you and you wanted to talk about it. So
Oh,
let's not forget that and let you talk about mentors a little bit.
it's the most important thing to me. I've learned so much from my mentors, and anytime I get hung up, I have someone that has some experience in business that can help me out. And they've all helped me tremendously. But in particular, I got a mentor through SCORE. So he's specifically assigned to me with the task of being mentor. And he's helped me with a lot of those processes. Just understanding what paperwork is necessary for the business aspect of things. That's very important. And connecting me with people that are specializing in whatever I'm looking for. For example, G's just coming up with my graphic, sound electric. My husband really did help me out with that, but my SCORE mentor put me in contact with a lady that's great with media. So she gave me a lot of great ideas about advertising and things of the nature. I name any subject, he could connect me with the right mentor that's going to help. He doesn't try to wear all the hats. He's a delegator. So it's really the one thing that I'm most thankful for, because sometimes you feel like you don't know what you're doing as a business owner. I'm just being transparent here. It can be very scary at times on what steps to make. And the mentors help you by saying, guess what? I know you're feeling really scared right now, but I was there too. So let me arm you with the tools to get you through.
Right.
Because what you're experiencing is something that a typical business owner actually experiences. You're not in this alone, because sometimes it can feel very lonely. And if you don't ask for the help, how would you even know that it's something that everyone goes through? So,
Oh, that's so nice.
yeah.
Seems as also too, when you're starting a business and you're focused in your case on electrical, or your husband's a plumber and you have expertise in those areas, I think it's easy to underestimate the power of something like a logo, and that there are people that have expertise in that area where you have an electrical, et cetera. It's those people with those skills and those subtleties that, I don't know if there's a bad logo, but if you're going to spend money and it looks like you have an embroidered shirt on, and you probably have it on the side of the trucks and you have it on business cards. So people think, oh, a logo, I'll just, whack something together, something like that. But there should be a lot of thought into it, and some evaluation, and what message are you communicating with that graphic. And so to be able to access that kind of a resource of, particularly new in an area,
Yeah.
you probably didn't know anybody that might have those skills. And this has allowed you to get in touch with those people that are good at those kinds of things, to let a kind of pro handle it for you, just like you handle electricity for people.
That's exactly right. He is my pro. It helps me cut through all the research of these things. I try not to take advantage of that situation, develop my questions fully, get with my mentor. He shoots the answers back to me, and we just cut through a lot of footwork and get the result we need. So, and it's been working. So
That's a great service. How did you find out about it? SCORE, you said.
Well, I've been wanting to be a contractor for a long time. And I believe, I'm not really sure how I originally heard about the SCORE organization, but I wanted to purchase electrical contracting business probably about 15 years ago. I always thought, this would be very fulfilling thing for me to do. So I thought about that whenever I was in West Virginia, but I never really settled on doing that. But at that point, somehow I had reached out to SCORE, because it was so intimidating for me to start a contracting company. I didn't want to get squashed by the competitor.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be honest with you.
That was very smart of you.
I didn't want to be able to not get the work and have to bid it so low to get it that I would be losing 100%. And I had a big fear that was going to be the case. So I did a lot of studying, and I think that's how I came across SCORE to begin with. Mm-hmm. And a seed was just planted there, and as often times happens in life, right? And then whenever I started thinking about this again, am I going to start a contracting company? Again, very fearful of actually putting my neck out there to do such a thing is when I reached out to them again, and they've just been very great. They've really helped me along the way. I highly recommend for any type of business, very small businesses on up to large. They have an amazing group of mentors at SCORE that can be very specific to your type of business. My mentor was into the supply chain of construction, but he knew a lot about construction. So that's who they set me with.
Mm-hmm. So we didn't talk about any future plans you may have? Is it still so new? I mean, you just opened right before Ian, right?
I did. I started taking customers about 6 months before Ian, and I've been busy ever since the day I started taking customers. It was very overwhelming. From the very start, I thought, well, geez, I'm going out to work at 5, 6 a.m. and not getting home till 8 or 9, and I just can't even work any harder. It's not possible. And I really felt very exhausted by that. And then next thing you know, when the hurricane came, I said, well, that was just a little workout here, So it's been, and then it's grown and grown. And my business plan was to have 8 electricians and 2 years of opening the business. That was pre-Ian. So we've exceeded that. There's so much opportunity for me though. Mm-hmm. There really is so much opportunity out there. And my electricians want me to grow. They're very hungry they're very happy to be a part of a startup, very motivated to help the brand grow, which is great because we know they're doing great work out there because they actually really care so much about the business and the company, and they want to grow. So I'm going to continue to grow. We're going to keep growing. We're doing a lot of work, Cape, in Fort Myers, doing some work in Punta Gorda. We have access to manpower in all of these places that's qualified. So we will continue to grow. But first and foremost, we want to make sure that our product is 100% perfect before we really start trying to grow. And that's what we're really focusing on this year, is just to make sure that we're doing 100% the best we could ever do. So, and then we're going to really work on that growth after we get that nailed. Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned you've exceeded your business. Where are you with employees and trucks, et cetera? Because you beat the 8, you said.
We did beat the 8. We have 6 vans now. So, and we have 12 electricians. So, and that can vary from time to time. So we've had up to 16. Wow. We have had 8, a lot of times it's averaging between 8 and 12 electricians. And as the work increases, we can increase that number. I'm really happy with the size that we're at currently. Like I said, until we know that we have everything 100% perfected. The electrical work, we know we have that 100% perfected. But, there are certain other ways I feel like we're going to work on our product an awful lot this year. So customer communication and everything. Now we have a lot of great compliments, and our customers are very, very happy with us, but I'll never be happy until we're perfect. So we're really working to make sure that I'm happy and that we're perfect this year, and then continue to grow. Then the focus will be more on growth once I'm 100% satisfied with that. But all in all, I don't want to come across as negative or anything like that. I just want to acknowledge those things, that these are all things that are very important to Sound Electric, so, and that's really our mission, quality, integrity, and customer service is basically our mission statement. So we're working to nail that and just continue to grow from there.
And your customers know that you're going to show up and you're going to make sure it's working and you're going to follow up if there's any issues.
That's right.
That means the world to people here, especially.
Yeah, we get received very, very well. I'm so thankful for that. We really do have the best customers.
So if people want to take advantage of the services, where you're located, hours, how to get a hold of Sound Electric?
We're located right on Stringfellow Road. We're beside the new seafood.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just right in the small building, right to the left of the seafood market, which is a great place to go. So stop and get yourself a piece of fresh fish or crab or lobster if you can't come to see us. Also, the Tiki is just south of us a little way. So we're just in that small building there. We do have a couple garage bays where we keep our material as well. So we're in those two buildings in between the Tiki and the seafood market. Generally, there's someone in office, but a lot of times we do have to run out to the field.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely feel free to stop by. If the door's unlocked, come on in. If we're not there, really the best way to reach us is email.
Okay.
Honestly, info at soundelectricflorida.com is the best to get customer service taken care of and create a really nice paper trail. So everyone is updated at every pace of your project,
Mm-hmm.
but email is not for everyone. So the phone number is 863-558-3939. So call or text that number to reach us.
And I know you're 24 hours, so I imagine a phone call is the best.
Yeah, a phone call or
approach.
text message a lot of
That'll
time
work
is
too?
great too.
Okay.
What I love to do is create a paper, basically a trail or a thread for everybody. So email and text is great for that, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't ever say, did I say or do that?
Mm-hmm.
So customer or, we know exactly at every moment where we're at on the project if we have a little bit of a trail. But we have a secretary that takes care of that too.
Oh,
so,
that's great.
Yeah, her name's Lisa. You can call anytime and talk to Lisa. So, and she'll just get the info and then she'll give it to whoever needs to receive it. So we do have everything covered
Right.
there.
What's the normal hours? I couldn't find that out. It was like 8 to 5, or do you have?
Well, our electricians, they work 8 to 4:30 and sometimes beyond, but a typical 8 to 4:30 is what they're working.
Okay.
Our shift was 7 to 3:30, but we decided it was best for our customers to push that back a little bit. So no one's showing up on the front step at 7 a.m., especially in the winter months. It was dark out still,
Yeah.
so it just didn't feel quite right starting that early.
But Korrie, thank you so much. This was fascinating. You could tell by us asking a lot of questions right up front when you were saying things. So we appreciate it. There's so much we don't know, and there's so much we learned today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity for sure.
We hope you enjoyed our Pine Island Experience podcast. If you have any ideas for us, people to interview, or any comments, please feel free to email them to us at pineislandexperience@gmail.com. That's pineislandexperience, all one word, @gmail.com. Don't forget to like us, and you may subscribe to this podcast using all the major catchers like Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Thanks again for listening, and remember, island life is a constant vacation. We'll see you on the next podcast.